Welcome to the Site Visit podcast. Leadership in construction with perspective from the job site. With your hosts, Andrew Hansen, James Faulkner, and Christian Ham.
From the SiteMag studio in Yaletown, Vancouver.
Let's get down to it.
All right, and just like that, back in here, second roundtable of the year. Gentlemen, how's it going?
It's going great.
You look stylish.
Andrew,
there,
you look
Andrew.
fantastic. Jeez.
Hey, it's Tuesdays. Tuesdays I always dress up. Kind of.
Did you shave your beard today? A little bit?
I shaved my neck. Yeah, we're doing a bit of a rotation in our office. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, some of our staff come in and we try and batch a lot of our meetings on those days. So
That's cool.
You're getting the best version of Andrew today.
You got that little bit of a Conor McGregor thing going, I did tell you. Andrew McGregor.
You mean
When he gets knocked out?
A losing thing going on?
Hey, that's okay. That's okay.
So, somebody said, it was on Twitter. They're like, everyone that calls Conor a loser, he's like, he got punched in the face for how many $1 million? He's like, for a lot of people, that's winning.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
How much did he make for that?
Stuff.
I think
I don't know the numbers.
$5
It was pretty
million or something
impressive.
like that. Yeah. Or maybe, I don't know if it like scales for like a win or a loss, but either way.
Yeah.
Either way, we are doing video and we can say that you're looking stylish because you are.
Mm-hmm.
We're also talking about everyone's got glasses except for me. I feel, I got to step up my game or I got to start reading books or something like that.
Yeah.
Or no,
bookworm.
looking at screens. That's what it was. The blue lights.
And we're gonna get you that front light up thing for your give yourself a nice glow.
Yes. Yes.
I'm gonna
Totally.
order one of those. I'll get you both one, and you can put them on the top of your screen on a little. So for everyone who's listening on our on the regular podcast, we've got a YouTube channel now. So
We did.
people can check
Launched
that
this
out.
week.
Yeah.
Putting it up. And to reiterate, we are doing these sessions with the three of us and producer John, and who knows who else might hop in from time to time. But we're doing these. We're actually switching it up. We're playing with some different times, but it looks like we're recording on a Tuesday morning, and we're actually going to try and push these out by mid-morning on Tuesday. So John's got his work cut out for him, and then we will be following that up with Thursday releases of our interview series. So we've got a good interview coming up with Daniel from Performance Builders, and then we've got many more on the docket lined up as we go here.
Yeah,
but it's early, and we're used to this because that's what we were doing all last year. But it seems to be the best time.
Mm-hmm.
It's the construction hour, right? You get up early, you get cracking, get to it.
So today
I
I've
think-
got on the way out to, I'm going to go out from Yaletown here out to see John out in Cloverdale. And I think I might do the little trip on the way out. I'm going to do like a time lapse with my new little camera.
Oh,
And and we'll post that on our social there to show you the distance.
That's
La
good. I like
distance.
that.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I might do some
it's
carpool
cool.
karaoke in there. Actually, maybe not. We'll see.
It's cool. James is coming out to check out so we over the last year have we know there's going to be a place for an office, right? Physical locations in the future. People will come back and people will do hybrid approaches, and that's kind of what we're looking at. But we've opened a second hub for our business, and James is coming out to take a look at the tenant improvement that's going on. So we've got an active construction site going on right behind us, which is pretty fun, and we get to be in the thick of it. Andrew, you stopped by on Friday there.
I did. At a distance.
It's quite the distance.
No, at a distance. Socially distanced.
At a distance. Yes. Yeah, no, it's
No.
a big space.
It's relatively close to our office, so definitely not a distance from our space.
And then we're going to go to Trail Appliances, see our buddy Dave Bowman, and look at some dishwashers. Do you know that beer hookup's going to be like $1,500 just for the chiller? Jeez.
Sounds worth it.
Does.
Everybody was excited. We're sharing the building with a real estate developer and builder as well. They build multifamily communities, and they've been hearing the liveliness of our office space and kind of being like, "What's going on behind that wall? Why are they having so much fun over there? What on this? They're getting a beer keg in their new office." So we're exciting a lot of people over here. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So
$2,000 a cup.
Yeah, when we get back to it, there'll be some fun gatherings and all that kind of stuff as we get going. But we got a few things to go through in these roundtables. We want to hit like current trends in construction, as well as just things that are going on with our businesses or that are relevant to our businesses, and how they would relate to those in our audience as well, and their businesses. So I just said businesses like 5 times. That's a mouthful.
Businesses, 60.
But yeah, we want to talk about a bunch of things. We do want to dig in really quick again and talk about, Andrew, we are going to be lining up a bunch of people from this 40 under 40 for the interview series. Correct?
That is correct.
Nice. And that's going to be awesome. These are people from all over. This was top 40 under 40 Canadian construction. These are construction leaders all across the country from east to west. I'm sure one day Andrew will conquer North America, and then we'll do a North America wide one. But for now, our home country of Canada. But everybody will be listening because these builders build all over the place. So there's lots of Canadian builders that build in the US and all that kind of stuff. But also talking about other things like, and we can go off on this one for probably a while, but this might seem like old news, but it's kind of new news in construction. But the resurgence of the QR code.
God, that's a lovely QR code.
We see it on everything now, right? From restaurants, and I just got new internet last night. Yeah, that's a story in itself, and John will make fun of me. I was on internet 15 for like the last 7 years.
15
with like, yeah, really bad, really slow.
That stinks. Wow.
Yeah, really bad. But
so the QR code. Didn't you? Who was the tech giant that said the QR code's the C word of the tech business? Who was it?
I knew you were going to bring that up. I think it was on Shark Tank when somebody was like, "Oh yeah, you can just download our app here with scan this QR code."
Oh, it was the that.
I know who it was. Can we name names?
God, name them.
Well,
I can guess. I mean,
he said it on national TV.
Yeah, and you know what? And people say things all the time, right? Like especially like, entrepreneurs and people that are leading things, they'll make bold predictions about things that turn out to be nothing, or then they'll do another one and it'll be massive. But the comment was, that QR codes are some sort of. I got Siri's trying to listen to me right now.
Oh, Chris Sacca, right?
It was Chris Sacca, yeah. And it was on Shark Tank.
He said it.
And it was all about downloading an app. And you know what? Right after that, like Snapchat got their own QR code. LinkedIn has their own QR code, like everything. When you switch your Apple to another Apple device, it gets you to scan their own little code. That's this big galaxy looking deal, which is kind of cool. But it's nothing that we were all too unfamiliar with, especially after 2020. They're everywhere.
Yeah, some people call it like, hey, what's that? Scan that Tetris looking thing. It does look like Tetris.
It does.
All those little squares make a... you'll notice that, so QR codes are kind of weird. Like they're all based on a URL. And depending how many characters in the URL is how detailed that QR code looks. It's kind of interesting. So if I were to say hello, the QR code would have like 4 squares on it, 5 squares. But if you have like a long URL that wants you to go log in somewhere, it starts to get very, very, very...
Is that why the Apple one is just like literally like, I don't know, thousands of tiny little pixels?
Yeah, because they have a tracking code on it too. So it's got, it's just going to ask for it'll have an IP address tracker on it. It'll have a whole bunch of like gateways and stuff on that URL. So it'll track all the stuff. You can tell which ones are using like a basic QR code generator or ones that are actually tracking you a bit more than that by how complex they are.
Okay, well, we can start with the QR code thing. The only other thing I was going to say is that we're going to kick off this from the site. thing. We field some questions from social media and just
Cool.
get some questions about, like what people want to hear us talk about, where they want to see the podcast go. And they ask some questions. So we just started, so we only have a few to go through, but John's going to be ripping on social, and there's going to be lots of great questions, and we're happy to ebb and flow with our conversation as the audience sees fit, and obviously what's relevant to the construction industry. We don't want to just blabber on about ourselves and talk about, random things like my poor choices of internet and cable.
Glasses.
Yeah,
Glasses.
the
I need
no glasses.
The no glasses.
Tough day for Christian.
I'm so coming with glasses. Oh man. Especially now that
So
we've
did
got
you hear
video
about this
going.
this sustainable building thing of using mushrooms for bricks? Have you seen this?
No.
I subscribed to this construction news channel. So basically, I didn't know this, but so concrete, so the construction materials contribute to 10% of the world's CO2.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
And then concrete alone creates more CO2 than the aviation industry. 40% more.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So anyway, so there was this thing, it was on The Verge, and they're finding this mushroom material that's like super dense. And they're making bricks out of it. It's like early days. I mean, you got to forage a lot of mushrooms to make a high rise. But yeah. Ooh. Maybe there's a pun there. How high is this high rise?
Oh, I was gonna say. It brings a whole new, if I can say this. I don't know why this is popping into my mind, but a whole new meaning to shit and bricks. Because mushrooms.
Oh,
growing crap. Okay. Anyway, sorry, I threw that out there.
Growing crap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's going to be there's going to be a massive amount of jokes around that. Like, the whole paradigm of the whole, treating someone like a mushroom,
Yeah.
feeding them crap and keeping them in the dark. But yeah, that's kind of interesting. But yeah, we'll see that. That's kind of cool. The other thing was, Amazon just creating crazy buildings. I don't know if you saw that one in Arlington they're building. This super twisty looking thing. It's like 35-story. That what do they call that one in London? The egg, or whatever it's called.
The egg, yeah.
Looks like a Fabergé egg. Yeah, so they're constructing in Arlington, like basically take that and then just put like a more of a sort of a sharper top on it and then twist it. And it's a crazy looking thing with all like trees and stuff. And yeah.
Is this like another headquarters?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I mean, you see what they're doing in Vancouver. They took over our old library. Oh, no, the old post office, right?
Post office.
The post office.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a project.
It's crazy, like the impact that brand is doing on the construction industry. Yeah. So anyway, it's pretty cool.
That project's cool because they kept the existing envelope, the heritage, and then just built underneath it. And I can almost guarantee, I don't have this sourced, that was most likely harder, obviously, than a ground up build.
Oh, for sure.
Like the technical approach, and you kind of see it. It's cool. You see it coming up out of the old. And I think there's like 4 tower cranes on that project. I believe PCL is building it, but it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
No, that's an intricate job. We know a few people, subcontractors, and everybody working on that job. That's crazy. I mean, they're still betting big on office, right? What do they say? They're going to have, is it 2,000 to 5,000 employees in there? Like,
5,000 new, I believe.
New.
So they already have a couple bases.
Exactly.
And then it's going to grow.
Yeah. So that's
yeah, I think to back up on James' earlier point on the concrete, we're seeing a lot of that. I think we had Rocky on earlier to talk about wood and that huge demand, but that's more and more coming up is just, you're going to see provincially from a political level really pushing mass timber into a lot of our projects. But from the consumer side, that's only growing more and more. It's because of that pollution conversation, but also the way people want to live in their buildings. So it's interesting. You mentioned that they're looking at mushrooms, but yeah, wood's right here and it's ready to go.
Yeah, it can grow mushrooms.
Yeah.
Entries.
Without like segueing too much, it's interesting too, because there's always going to be those, the green trends and all that kind of stuff that drive certain aspects of construction. But we also saw construction materials double and triple like in the last couple or, over the last year, which unfortunately, cost does come into play with the way that people build, right? Especially when it's maybe driven by public projects, it's a little different. But for private developers and builders and all that kind of stuff, cost is crucial, right? And so it'll be interesting to see, and it'd be good to gather a bunch of information and have a whole pod devoted to it.
Well, recently
Or
there was,
series.
like in for structural concrete, they have a 3D printer that made a column, a 2 meter high column in 30 minutes.
Wow.
So you start to figure out what that can do. I mean, you've seen how they're going floor to floor on a high rise. If they've got a contraption that can basically like 3D print that, you think about all the forms and all that kind of stuff you need to use, and then pulling the concrete all the way up and pumping it. And I mean, it's just a huge, obviously the floor slab, I don't know how they would do that, but definitely if they can get the columns dealt with. But yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Probably
just
not
to
on a
see,
high rise though, because you need the rebar, right? So, I mean, I don't know, but.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you see all these 3D printing things, kind of like you scroll through Instagram or whatever, and it's just like all these different 3D printing things. And I'm like, super cool. How practical? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a pro in robotics and all that kind of stuff, but just practically having built, a fair amount of buildings and some low and high rise stuff. It's just, how efficient can it be? And modular seems like something, or at least prefab sort of thing. But then again, is that still cost effective? I mean, you're trucking things around and got to do all sorts of things in facilities. So, should we get really simple? Should we get? Oh, is there Andrew going to say something?
I was just going to say, I saw your notes and there's a couple good questions there. I like the idea of the questions from our audience. It's kind of fun to bring them in. I know I want to get to those early before we forget.
Oh, you do? I was going to say, yeah. Well, we'll save like a whole bunch. I think it's good to end it. And then right now we'll just go through and we can just answer them and just kind of off the cuff chat about them. In the future, we can even say like, where it came from, who asked it, all that kind of stuff. And we'd love to be engaging more. So please, and we'll say this all the time, follow us on our social. It's always linked in our, linked in our descriptions and everything like that, and engage with us. We're going to be way more active. We want to be talking. We want to be making sure that, again, we're just not three guys talking to nobody about nothing. We want this to be relevant, and we want people to be entertained as well, but also informed, as there's things that need to be discussed and relevant issues that we got to cover. But to keep it real simple, were we done that QR thing? I know we just kind of brushed on it, but I just want to talk about it like in relevance to construction and how almost all major construction sites now, you'll have there'll be some sort of central QR that you're going to scan going in. And it's funny how this little thing has taken over what everyone thought was always going to be, oh, scan my thumbprint. Oh, I'll check in, I'll check out. Oh, I'll do this or whatever, super high tech. And then boom, piece of paper with a QR code on it. And now everyone's scanning it. Simple, practical.
Yeah. Necessity, right? I think a lot of that came from the demand of tracking more accurately people coming and going from job sites from a health and safety perspective, and also the movement between job sites. That's what I would assume.
Yeah.
I mean, the sites that I've kind of visited and even seen from afar is you walk to site, there's a big billboard or a big sign that kind of documents how to engage, how to walk into the site, how to scan, how to sign up. So I think it's nice when you see constraints force, I don't want to use the word innovation because those codes have been around for a while, but like adoption. Yeah. And I think that's cool to see. Hopefully that stays, because it's good to know that regardless, whether, after we got through the pandemic, just to have that knowledge base. So I think I would assume that's kind of the constraints pushed it through. People need that information. It's simple. It's easy. It eliminates that excuse to be, I don't know how to use it. So I would assume that's kind of what's really driving it.
And James, you can probably answer this best, but what do you think the biggest barrier was for these QRs? And I think I have a guess, and it has to do with the actual phone's capabilities of simply scanning it and not having to download
it was
something.
Apple's resistance to. Yeah, well, it was Apple's. The Android had it for a long time, but the fact that it's native now in the camera and an iPhone, that's really what did it. It's just recent, yeah, because before it didn't do that.
How recent?
Oh, like I'm going to say 8 months.
Oh,
A
wow.
year. Yeah, like not
A year?
Yeah, it hasn't been around for long.
Slightly pre-pandemic, maybe. Yeah, but
Yeah,
like
yeah, exactly. Like maybe last quarter 2020. So yeah, maybe no, last quarter of 2019. Excuse me.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I mean, sometime around that. I mean, that's really the. Yeah, it's.
But isn't it?
Oh, we're
isn't
gonna.
it Go ahead.
I think we're gonna see this for the next little while. That having the because as a vaccine thing rolls out, right? You're gonna need to scan. Oh, have you been vaccinated? Oh,
Yeah.
which did you use? I mean, it could have been a Moderna one. It could have been a Pfizer one. I mean, you're going to, and then, you got the different variants out there. It's going to be very, very complicated. And this QR code is essentially going to be the switch to be able to, it's always been take the analog world into digital. That's basically all it is, right? So yeah, we'll see how it all goes.
Yeah, it's definitely pushed by health and safety and tracking that sort of stuff, especially when, we live in an age when like tracking things has become quite important, not just productivity and people and resources and equipment. But it's crazy. Like Andrew, you said, it's not a new piece of tech, but it was like a slight modification to the everyday tech that's kind of been like, boom, now all of a sudden we're using it. And I love, I think it's like a Jim Collins good to great thing, or built to last, can't remember which one, but it was pioneering the use of existing technology. So it's like taking tech, not creating necessarily new tech, but pioneering the way in which it's used. So this thing now, I set up my cable box yesterday. Well, we set up internet in our office.
Big day. Big day for you, hey? Wow.
Oh, huge day, man. We were
Internet,
hotspotting for 2 weeks, just, running through cellular data like it was going out of style. And, but the first thing you do is like scan QR to set up, and it's like, of course, I mean, like everything's got that now. It makes sense. Have it native on your phone, internet last night, scan QR to set up your cable box, scan QR to set up your modem, all that sort of stuff. And it just takes you, like James said, to a URL or whatever. And we're not blowing anybody's minds here, right? When we're having this conversation. But to be able to just have these things now on, everybody, and this is crazy because like us coming from technology and, building a product for construction and stuff like that, we're constantly up against this. Oh, our guys are set in their ways, or our people are set in their ways, and they've been in the industry a long time, and they're slow to adopt tech or whatever. And then I hear stories like, because Google has a QR code for their sheets and docs, and Microsoft has one too. We've rolled out a project QR that allows everybody to access their site and safety forms and notice board and all that kind of stuff for their project hub. But you talk to these guys and they're like, I've never been able to bring everyone together on the same page on a construction site more so than having them scan this QR code. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, it seems like the most simplistic thing.
Well, I think what makes it make sense is that because of COVID, you have. So let's say in the past, so where this, in terms of checking into a job site, where it was going before COVID, and this was kind of the holy grail, was to be able to have something called an iBeacon, and an iBeacon was essentially a Bluetooth little thing that when you get towards the radius, it says, "Hey, do you want to join the network?" and does it automatically. The thing is that's an outgoing initiative that the people on the job site have to accept, and they have to find a reason to want to do it. Whereas what COVID has done is you have a myriad of different macerations of people's ideas, personal ideas of what they think of the pandemic. They could have an elderly person at home. They could be a germaphobe. They could be whatever. Now they're doing it for themselves. And that changed everything, because it changed the psychology around, hey, I'm going to scan this code so I'm safe, so my wife doesn't give me crap that I wasn't safe and brought it back to, her mom who lives with us. Or, you have the, a gal on site who's a safety officer, and she's like, I don't have to pressure people anymore because they're doing it for their own safety. And that's the That's the concept that it lives under. Now, it's not just the big man or the big brother thing saying, here, we want to track you. This is for a legitimate concern. So that's the pretty interesting part is that it's actually pushed the other thing, the other technology that was way more complicated out of the way. And as you said, like that Jim Collins thing is brought something that's been around for a while and made it mainstream.
I think one thing to that point too is the power of habit. So we've been in this pandemic for how long?
Yeah,
people
true.
are starting to get their routines. If they've been going to a project site for the last 6 months and every morning they're checking in, checking out, it almost becomes that habit where they get used to it, or, they have that part of that routine. So I think that's what we're hopefully seeing is it's become part of their process of joining sites versus I got to go to Joe's project. Joe's always pushing technology on us. We'll log into his little app. It's not going to go anywhere versus company wide. I want to be able to keep working on this project. So we're seeing that too, probably.
One of the things I think is kind of interesting is that also when it comes to the personal device of the it could be a field worker to, the entire hierarchy of a job site, from somebody who could even just be a temp worker, right? From a temp agency. But they still need to have a phone that's going to be able to do that. You could have like the crappiest, Android or the oldest iPhone that barely works. The problem is now everyone has to have data. And, we've heard it in the past where someone, it could be somebody who is, getting the lowest minimum wage, they can't pay their bills, they're coming onto a job site and they're like, okay, I use like pay as I go. I don't have data. And it happens more than you think. And so now those people have to have data to get in the job site because they have to have their personal accountability that they've scanned that code. So lots of things, lots of pressures.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, almost like not new tech or whatever, and something that's just become a mainstay is people having data plans. This is not blowing anybody's mind, but especially coming from where we come from, early days of SiteMax, James, how often would you hear people be like, "Oh, my guys, I can't give this to them in the field. They have flip phones. They barely know how to text message, yada, yada, yada," and all this kind of stuff, right? Yeah. Now everyone's got a smartphone. And through the years, people still push back and they'll be like, "Oh, if it doesn't come to a text message, they'll never adopt it," or, "Oh, you got to be able to check in via text message. They can't download an app." You know what is crazy though? Everyone does have data now, but here's another old thing that doesn't go away: text messages.
Yeah.
It's just not going anywhere. That's why there's message apps. That's why there's Slack and WhatsApp and all these other ones around the world, right? But like iMessage or just chat in general, people still want very basic things because it's such a main part of their day-to-day life and the routines. And like you said, Andrew, just the habits that are formed in people's minds every day.
Mm-hmm. Well, this goes back to, I think, one of our first episodes we had with Kevin. I believe Kevin Swenson from System One. He talked about like the levels of communication and I think this is more true now than ever. Like we have Slack, text, voice call, email, all this stuff. And you kind of grade them up. So it's like, if it's kind of half urgent, if it's internal, send me a Slack. Usually if it's external, send an email, CC the people that are involved. If it's creating a bit of more urgency, send me a text. If you need me to get on it, call me. And it's kind of this level of like, there's this unwritten rule of priority. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, to your point too, text will always be there. It's that urgency of response. So I find that kind of interesting too in this remote world.
But it's also become it's completely professionally acceptable to text message people.
Yeah.
Like anybody, like I'll text message with customers. Even our sales guys are text messaging potential customers all the time because that's how they want to be communicated with.
Yeah.
People say on their voicemail,
test
"Don't
it.
leave me a voicemail, text me."
Yeah, you always test it. Like if you haven't built a relationship with that client, I at least personally, you kind of see if they have an iPhone or if they're fast, and you send an email and then you send them a text and you're kind of saying, "Hey, it's Andrew, just sent you a note. no rush or something. And if they text right away, you kind of have that texting rapport, and then that's where your conversations happen. If you get a no response, you're like, okay, we're sticking on email here. Yeah. And then you give that. It's true. I've been always doing that, and people right away, and then all of a sudden it's 9 o'clock, and it's like, can you believe Tampa Bay won? All of a sudden you get to that level of conversation. But it's better to do that when you test it.
Well, I think the older generation doesn't like this you always have my ear thing, because they want to turn it off. And a text message ain't doing that. Because they're not going to change their settings when they come home. Okay, do not disturb. It's just not going to happen. Suddenly your phone's going to light up in the middle of like dinner or something. Hey, how's it going? Just wondering about my invoice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just another part of communicating with people. And because it's so acceptable, you'll get people pushing the boundaries of text messages sometimes. And we're like, wow, has it really got to that point that you can text me that? I guess it has.
Yeah. But, you ever texted something to the wrong person? Or the weird thing is that dealing professionally, the autocorrect is crazy. Like I've got this guy that's a pretty serious guy in our, a very professional relationship. His name is Doug. And often it's, I'm about to press send. He goes, hey, dog. I'm like, I don't want that. Just imagine sending that to somebody. Because it auto-corrected and made it a dog rather than someone's name. So, you sound like, who's that guy from, that's a no from me, dog. Who's that guy from American Idol?
Simon?
Simon Cowell? Simon Cowell.
No, it's the other guy, Randy.
Randy?
Yeah, that's a no from me, dog. It sounds like
it's a no from me, dog.
Yeah. So when it's like when the text starts off, hey, dog, it's like, that's what it sounds like to me. I'm like, oh, not good.
That is funny.
Oh, man.
Or you have the odd one where you text a number and you think it's their cell number and it's the office. And after you send a text, it's like, this message has been delivered to voice to text,
landline.
Something landline. You're like, right on.
Yeah,
you're going to see the bullpen of the estimators. Hey, how's it going? It's Andrew. I hope you had a great weekend. Give me a call. Awesome.
Okay, are we done with this QR code conversation? Because I think we should, and we can, and again, we're going to get to from the site. I want to push on the Andrew. Should we just call some people up? Because I know some of those 40 under 40 guys listen to this. Should we call some people out to be like the first three? I know one guy in particular I want to call out for sure.
I'm probably thinking the same guy you are.
He's been avoiding coming on the podcast for a while, but he's got a really, really good story. And he needs to come on.
Call him out.
Does his name start with a J?
It does.
All right. Josh Gallardi. I did it. You're coming on the pod. Well, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how he responds to that. But who do you think who would be some good first ones on there? Jesse Unke's been a regular on our show.
Yeah.
Jesse Unke was on it. That guy is ripping it up locally and across the country in terms of his influence.
Yep. I'm just pulling up the list here, but I think what I really enjoyed about the 40 under 40 that we had was it was across Canada. So we have a lot of BC people, but there's some really impressive winners out of places like Winnipeg, places like Calgary, Edmonton. So getting some of those professionals from those markets would be great just to learn. I think we hear a lot of stuff going on in Alberta right now. What's actually happening on the ground or projects moving forward, things like that would be really good. And then different, there's some general contractors, construction managers, designers, consultants. So it's a really good list. So those would be some civil guys, things like that would be great to capture. So yeah, definitely excited about some of those groups. And it was great to see some of the people that we've had on the podcast in the past were winners. It's great just to see the quality of people we can get on this show, and then also recognize that they can be considered one of the top leaders in Canadian construction.
Nice. And is this going to kick off an annual thing that you guys are going to do with Onsite?
Say that one more time.
Are you going to do this as an annual, like a recurring thing with Onsite magazine?
Yeah,
like
the goal is to
each and every year. Yeah.
Yeah, the goal is to do it every year. In a perfect world, we'd love to do a big event in person this year. That most likely won't happen, where we'd want to celebrate all the winners. And this is a good networking opportunity and a chance to connect. We might do that virtually, find a way to bring some speakers in, connect this group. And then ideally it builds. We have our landing page set up, Site 40 Under 40, and we're getting hundreds of signups already. And it's still consistent. Like every week we're getting more and more. So there's a lot of growing interest. I think the caliber of the winners that we got create a bit of urgency for next year. So it's definitely going to be a year over year thing for sure.
There's a really, I mean, video conferencing is another one that a thing, again, not to go back to the tech conversation, but has become like a thing that everyone's now familiar with. So we had the VRCA U40 AGM last week, and they were using a platform. Now I'm blanking on what it's called, but it was basically like you get everybody gathering in a room, and it's like a mixer, and you can like set up your rooms, and then you can also like join people and
do breakouts and stuff.
And yeah, you can like drag your face over them. So it's not, I know there's breakouts in Zoom, but like you can see everybody. There's like a beer room and a wine room and a whiskey room. And then you can like drag your face and you can see people moving around, mingling. So they go into a different room and then they walk around and then they chat with somebody else. And then you all pop up together in a circle and then you chat. And then someone's like, "Okay guys, I'm peacing out." And then they go to like another one. I don't know if that's something just, like I know if the only thing you can do with a group is do a web or a video conferencing type thing, that maybe that's a platform to even entertain just because it's so different. So I'll send you the note.
That's cool.
The name.
Yeah, I like that. That sounds fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What else?
That's it? You don't want to share anything else
on the agenda here?
Okay. Well, we got the from the site, where we got a few things. There's a few
questions from the field
thrown at us. Questions from the field. So from the site is obviously playing on our name. It's playing on we were talking with people everywhere from on the job site all the way up to executive level, general contractor, subcontractor, specialty contractor, developer, builder, or consultant based. Anybody that's touching the construction industry, that's going to obviously bring a perspective from the field that we want to bring on. But these questions come from everywhere. And so from the site could just be simply our audience. So you guys saw a few of those that I threw in there. We just have a Slack channel, setting up notes for our conversation. What was the first one on there, Andrew? I think someone was like, "Are you guys actually going to keep doing the podcast?"
Yeah, I'm guessing this might be a Cam Roy question, but we thought the pod was dead, ? What's the deal? I'm reading that in a Cam Roy type voice. So in case that was him.
Cam's another great guy. We gotta get Cam joining us.
But
yeah,
I think we spoke about that in our last episode.
No. Yeah, we did. You did. Well, we can always just reiterate it though, and just let people know. And you know what? The best proof of all that though is just to keep on doing it, and we will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there definitely was a delay in there, and obviously, like the COVID thing that we have a full on studio, right? And we know we wanted to do a video thing, and then also getting everything ready. We knew that the video component would add quite a bit of workload in terms of getting the production done. I was doing that. Now we got John on. So now that releases things a lot to have a lot of velocity here. Obviously our social is going to be way more engaging. We're going to have more stuff on there. So we kind of wanted to circle back and make sure we had a sustainable route going forward. And and then sort of getting the pandemic thing was kind of interesting and and also, with the new office and, I know that on Christian's side and his entire team out there is sort of the office wasn't a consistent situation until we got that new one. So that's helped a lot. So yeah, to anybody out there who is like, "Hey, you guys, what's the deal? You don't love us anymore?" We do. We've been thinking about it. We've had guilt the whole time. And we just wanted to do it right. So that's why the delay. But yeah, thanks for hanging in.
Absolutely. Okay, so we don't know exactly where that was, but we'll shout out Cam. Cam, what's happening, man? Okay, so next one on that was Will you bring on more guests from abroad? So yes, we have been we are Vancouver based. That's where we run our businesses, Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And yes, these things typically grow. It's weird. It's really weird, actually, how even though these, you have an internet business or a web-based business, or you have something that can be done totally remotely, things tend to just grow through networks sometimes. And, the nucleus is Western Canada and now across Canada. And we have listeners from all over the place. But what could really help that? Yeah, bringing on some people from outside of the province, out of the country, out of the continent.
Yeah. So if you're listening and that's you, get in touch. We'd love to have you on the show. But I think to Christian's earlier point is predominantly our audience is in BC. It's across Canada. It's across North America. So our word of mouth gets guests. Generally what happens is a guest comes on the show. They like it. They share it their network. They get in touch with us again and again. But we want to expand that outside of our province and Canada for sure.
Well, we do know that SiteMax is expanding pretty good in the UK. So it'd be interesting to have some English chaps on the podcast. That'd be funny. Good old English accent on here. That'd be sweet.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
It's James's, it's the homeland. Can I say it?
Tis the homeland. SiteMax UK, next office.
There you go. But yeah, I think it makes sense, right? We don't want to be locked into anything that's just regional. Again, we're for the industry. We care about it. We've all done projects in different areas. We've got customers all over the place. We're not always going to be pros, but that's why we bring the pros on from these other areas. We're just here to pull out information from people, to just hash out things ourselves, in which we, call us out again, like if we're covering stuff and it's just like, we're pulling from our experience and everything we learn every day, and we're learning an awful lot. So, yes, the answer. We'll bring on guests from abroad. Please make some suggestions if you would like. Is that it? Is that all we got to talk about that one?
No, one more. Yeah. And then the last question, will there ever be a site visit event again?
The last one here. So, what have we done in the past? So actually this was like right even before the, before COVID kind of all, happened in March of 2020 is, we had, and this would have been like the last in-person conference as well. There's a little side note that we can quickly chat about too, about trade shows. But it was at BuildX in Vancouver, and we did 2 full days of podcasting. We had people in from everywhere. People drop in, jump on the pod. We had people return, all that kind of stuff. Did we ever do another event, or is that the only real thing that we ever did? Did we ever do like a brewery thing?
I think that's all we did in terms of having signage and saying this was a site visit, kind of initiative. Yeah, I don't think we had done one before that. But yeah, we should do one again for sure. I mean, obviously it's regionally focused and kind of that stuff, seeing as we're here, once we expand, we could move around. Be kind of fun. Do it in the hubs that, we find appropriate. But yeah, we should definitely do one again. I know that we should, with that beer keg. Hello.
There's something so magical about our beer keg. There's lots of beer kegs around the world. Like there's a few of them.
I know, but you have to be around lame people to get to it.
It brings people together.
Potentially. Or not.
Or not. I know. I was just pumping our tires.
What were you going to say? You were saying about the beer keg. There's something special about the beer keg?
Well, you said there's something special about it, but I'm thinking that we should have in the new space, once it's ready, we should have a little, bring all the people that were on the podcast, at least, come and check it out, and come for a little meet and greet, film it, and do a little 5-minute sessions, hot seat sessions of people who have been on the podcast. That'd be fun.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
No, that's not a bad idea at all. Okay. Side note. So typically, like in our business, and Andrew, I mean, you've done it from time to time. This kind of plays off the events thing, but trade shows, we've all done them. We've done lots of them. We don't have to talk too long about this, but I just thought because it came up. It's funny how, how people have their annual conferences, there's like leadership summits or big speaker summits in all industries. A lot of them gravitated towards just doing things remotely, but still charging the same $500 type thing. And it's like, is the value fully there? Was it ever really there? Right? Can I not just and then you have things like, I don't know, like a Clubhouse emerges, like the social app Clubhouse. And all of a sudden it's like, you can talk, like Elon Musk is on there now. And you can I was literally lying in my bed listening. This sounds weird, but lying in my bed with my AirPods on, just listening to Elon Musk, just chat. And I'm like, in what other time would you ever be able to be a fly on the wall of a live phone call? Right. In that nature. And it's just it's so bizarre. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that? The trade show, the live event, how does that change, especially for construction, what we're doing?
Well, think about when someone attends a trade show, what is the value add they're getting other than just seeing the exhibits? So somebody's going to go there for maybe networking. They say, hey, I'll see you at the trade show, and then we can go for lunch. Or the other part is business to business. Act like when you see I think that competitors like to go and see what the other person's doing. But yeah, I mean, I think that general reach out to the hard part about the trade show in terms of it being online is that everyone's business is now online to the point they're doing Zoom calls, doing 10 Zoom calls a day. Mm-hmm. And now they're going to go and do a virtual trade show. It's like, oh, seriously? I got to do this now? So there's a bit of fatigue in terms of going to these virtual things. So yeah. But, until there's actually a friend of mine, I've invested in his company, and he's got a solution for tracing in terms of the trade show industry. So to make sure that you have whether you've been vaccinated or not, so they're working on that, which is going to be kind of interesting, so that you can essentially have everyone safe in an environment. So we'll see how that goes. But it's going to be very strange getting back to something, rubbing shoulders with people that you don't know, and bumping into someone by accident. I mean, you'll even notice this now, when you're walking in a mall or you're walking somewhere, that whole 2 meter thing, it's just not happening. Mm-hmm. I mean, what percentage of people are actually, people are moving out of the way a little bit, but the problem is controlling the herd is impossible. It really, really is. So yeah, whether or not we see trade shows coming right back, the human nature is going to have to change a little bit in order to make that safe. Yeah.
Well, that's a whole other topic of conversation altogether. Controlling the herd is impossible. That's very true. But yeah, the trade show, is the value even there, right? We even when it was in person, regardless of whether it's safe or not. Things are coming back. They're going to come back. Office is coming back. These things are going to come back inevitably. This business just doesn't function the way that it needs to without that type of collaboration. But the trade show, I don't know. I think that when you go through times like this, just I hate to see things like small businesses suffer. I can't it. Yeah. And to see, that there might not be a future for a lot of those, right, through these times. But the trade show thing is just, I don't know, not hating on it at all, just because we do it. But is it was it one of those necessary evil type things, or is it because it's so easy to connect and network with people? If you want to go build relationships, you can just go do it. Do you need to go and set something up just to be able to, I don't know, just throwing it out there.
Yeah. Well, you're dealing with a trade show company controls their own ecosystem with an event like that, right? So, do you remember we had, there's actually a film of it with our SiteMax trade show that we were at, and we had all those people with the yellow T-shirts show up. That were our customers, and they came and they all had these SiteMax T-shirts on there. They were bright yellow, and it looked to the people who have paid huge amounts to brand and put extra banners up and sponsor on the tickets and all that kind of stuff, and then a bunch of T-shirts walk in, and and the trade show companies complain because they're like, oh no, you're disrupting our model of value by doing something relatively free. It's like, yeah, well, right. Excuse me, but that's how the world works. And you're not controlling that anymore. So that's the hard part, about it, of the value. I think, Christian, to your point is that I just don't think it's worth the cash. I mean, when you're dealing with hotels ones that are out of town, you're dealing with hotels, flights, meals, transportation, shipping of your stuff. I mean, it's like $20,000, $30,000 every time you do a trade show. It's insane, right? If you were to spend that on Google or YouTube production or whatever, I mean, hello, same amount of money. Yeah, and way more pop.
No, totally. I mean, it's just a conversation, right? Like, because we'll probably still do them in some way, right? Of course. And I mean, they create like a little temporary micro hub, right, in a market you might not have a physical presence in. So I think it would be cool just to see certain things just switched up a little bit, right? To learn through these times, and when it does come back, to add different elements to make them relevant and to make them super effective for the businesses that are participating in them. I mean, again, and I don't want to be. Yeah, I don't want to be taken out of context too much. Like, I think what we've done in the past is, and we've really done well with them in terms of how we've approached them. I think it's just that, like you said, James, you kind of you have to fit into the ecosystem of the show itself. But if you're able to create like your own little micro ecosystem, it can actually do pretty well, right? Without disrupting anybody, because that's not what it's about either. It's not coming in and like shaking the whole thing up. But we have done well, and that's because we do push the boundaries when we go to trade shows, right? With the things that we do, little guerrilla type things we did with all the yellow shirts, and it was good, and it ended up being fine, right? So, yeah. Anyway,
but I mean, there's also the other element of like the destination of where the trade show is, depending on how big a trade show is. Like if you had World of Concrete, and they were like, okay, it's actually in Fargo, North Dakota, you'd be like, yeah. Sorry, my wife doesn't want to go there because there's no pool. There's, I mean, that element is, like how much money does a trade show bring to these convention centers, to the hotels, all that kind of stuff, to the restaurants. World of Concrete. I mean, wow.
True.
You can't get into a nightclub with there, right?
Which they did remote. So, they did. Yeah. They did it fully remote last week. I think it was last week. Yeah. It was like a entirely remote thing. And that's like the biggest construction trade show in North America. Yeah. And so, they, like everybody else, have to adapt. Right. So in a lot of ways, though, it is kind of cool because as much as, there's fatigue with video and all that kind of stuff, it is nice that if I have to go somewhere for a meeting, that I don't have to do the 4 hours out of my day to go and be a part of that thing. Right. So like if you're in a part of a conference that's taking place in Chicago and your favorite speakers are there and you can do some networking there, like it is kind of nice that you can still engage in a meaningful way from a distance. And, you can, maybe it's a half a day as opposed to 3 days of your time. So there is that type of stuff, benefits, all that. Anyway.
Yeah. I can imagine that there will be some sort of technology that will be more of a, I don't know, like the thing about a lot of trade shows is that predominantly the person with the crappy branding and the not so good little booth can still chat the same way personally as the someone with the $100,000 booth. You can still have that human connection that can save the day, kind of thing, depending if you got good salespeople. Whereas online, it's branding. You're a toast if that doesn't look good. Like people aren't even going to look at you. There's no, hey, how's it going? I'm so and so. So there's definitely going to be some new technologies, I think, in terms of engagement on how online trade shows are structured, and we'll see. The cool thing is that, like in any industry, the forced innovation is really cool, and hopefully they'll do something great.
Okay, well, there you go. We went on a bit of a rabbit trail there, but from the site, we'll do a little more punchier with questions and stuff like that in the future, but we're just getting started here, guys. Anything else?
I love it.
Anything else to cover? We got Thursday.
Well,
go ahead.
I was going to say we should do rapid fire for ourselves. So if we get questions from the field, we can kind of take that model, because I really like the rapid fire we do with our guests. So it'd be fun to do that.
Yep. Yeah, totally. Yeah, we should do that. We could definitely end it off with like 5 or 6 questions at the end or whatever when we do these from the site segments and rip through them all. Plus, we'll know about them a little bit beforehand. It'll be good. Cool, guys. Perfect. Okay, so we got Thursday. This is Tuesday. This is going to go out today. Then we've got already recorded with Daniel from Performance Builders coming out on Thursday. And then next week, we do it all again. And we'll be continuing on that cycle of Tuesday, Thursday. Anything to add? James, we did that interview. Andrew, you've done work with Performance Builders. Great story. Awesome brand. Like, really cool story.
Awesome guy. Daniel is, when you meet him, when you talk to him, you're like, this guy can probably build my building. That's the feeling you get from when you meet Daniel, which is a compliment. Like if your people are, yeah, you just meet him and he just gives confidence that he's going to get his job done and stand by his word. So, I like him. That's all I got.
100%. Okay, guys. Yeah, no, he's good. The brand is cool.
I like the connection with Christian and the hockey. That was pretty cool. You guys got into it there. And that it sounds like it was like an iceberg conversation. You guys were just dancing on the tip of it there. That sounds like a long beer conversation between you guys.
Yeah, there's some hockey background there. I don't know. What we talked to, like, I don't know, the New York Islanders being a terrible hockey team, stuff like that. I don't know. Just, yeah.
Wholesome content
for John. Awesome. Okay, guys. Well, we'll wrap it up. We'll be back on Thursday, and then John's popping on. He's got some words for us or not. But okay, we're working on this whole sign-off thing. Andrew?
Let's get back to building.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to The Site Visit, a podcast dedicated to leadership in construction with perspective from the job site. If you like the show, please subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play. To learn more, check us out online at thesitevisit.com.